Welcome to the Do Not Ignore Your Mortality podcast, where we are always tackling the toughest topics. Today, my guest is Barry Gordon. He's the CEO of Gordon's Downsizing and Estate Services Limited. His firm offers integrated solutions for downsizing and estate settlement. They are Ontario's only integrated real estate and transition company devoted to downsizing and estate settlement clients. Welcome, Barry.
Hey, Greg. Thanks very much for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm glad to have you here as a guest on the show today. Well, what are some of the more important issues this audience should be aware of in regards to what you are seeing in your role?
Okay, so what our company does is we're in what we would call the physical asset space. So in the mortality world, in the planning for pre-planning for an estate, people are concerned about a variety of things. And the envelope that we fit in is called Integrated Real Estate and Transition Company. So Gordon's is an integrated real estate and transition company. And what that means is we take on the challenge of selling the real estate in the estate, as well as managing all of the details of the personal property to whatever degree the client wants. So what it does is it makes it very, very easy for an estate trustee of any particular skill set or geography to be able to get the physical asset envelope, the house and the contents dealt with without a whole lot of hands-on activity from them if they are unable or don't want to do that. So our typical client in the estate world is someone where we're dealing with an estate trustee. The estate trustee might be a layperson, family member, or it might be a professional estate trustee, trust company, or otherwise kind of professional executor. And the estate is going to have a house, typically, residential home most often, sometimes another property, and then a whole lot of contents. And then around the contents, they're going to have issues like who gets what? Is there some distribution plan? Do they need help with that? And so we might, in some situations, ship things to relatives, clear waste, sort, shred, sensitive kinds of things, get some stuff to charity, food to the food bank, clothing to the Salvation Army, or something, and then organize a sale of the contents of the property, and then get the house empty and ready for market. And in the early stages of that, we also provide probate appraisals so that for the contents and for the real estate, so that process can be effected early. So that's kind of the envelope. We get the appraisals done. We get a plan together. We execute on the plan to whatever degree they want. So an estate trustee can really be hands off and make sure that everything gets done well, properly, and for pretty good economics as well.
Yes. So it's quite an extensive array of services that you provide to the clients, Barry. And I guess the biggest benefit is that they would have one point of contact to arrange all of these services.
Yeah. So the world, as you know, of being an estate trustee has become more and more complex, and it continues to become more complex. And so what we look at is the estate administration job, the estate executor job. We look at it like it's got a couple of paths. One path is what we call the liquid asset path, the paperwork path, the stuff you can do at your desk. So the filings, the signing of documents, the banking, the accounting, the listing of the assets, so that you're doing all that filing work. And then on the other side is what we call the physical asset envelope. And the physical asset envelope is the house, it's the contents, it's who gets what, it's how to handle sensitive documents, it's security for the house, it's making sure your insurance is up to date around that, it's doing maintenance on the property because your role as the estate trustee requires you to protect the assets. And so they're very different roles. The one role can be done at a desk. The other role requires somebody to be heavily engaged in those other activities. And so our process allows the estate trustee to stay at their desk. So as a practical example, we have estate trustees, professional estate trustees, and lay trustees, family members, estate trustees, that may live 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours away from where mom or dad lived. And their ability to manage that physical asset envelope is awkward if they don't have a solution that's like ours, where it's integrated, it's one stop, it's one call, it's one point of engagement. And then the other thing that we can bring to the table that makes it really interesting and helpful for people in that situation is that because we know at the end of the day we're selling the property, and because we know that property sales have, fairly significant commissions attached to them, even though our rates are as competitive as anyone, we can know that that's on the horizon and pull our costs out of that. So we can make it so that an estate trustee can avoid paying upfront for a probate appraisal, upfront for a real estate appraisal, upfront for security on the property, upfront for maintenance activities that happen, for shredding activities, for clearing activities, for shipping activities, for organizing of a sale of contents, for the promotion of the assets. So all of that envelope will upfront the costs, because we know that we've got a mechanism on the back end to pull those out of. So that's one of the significant values of being integrated. It's not for the estate trustee, it's one-stop shopping, but it's also a really convenient economic envelope. So, they're not getting exposed around those things. So,
Mm-hmm.
We have professional trustees that call us on a regular basis because they know now that the geography is no problem for them. If you got a professional estate trustee that lives, as an example, in Guelph, and somebody calls them from Ottawa and says, look at it, would you be the estate trustee for our estate? And the professional trustee knows how to do everything except that managing that physical asset envelope by looking for an appraiser for this, an appraiser for that, a real estate agent for this, a clear out service for this, a maintenance person for this, a security checking business for that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, with no funding to be able to make it happen until probate comes through, that's a really awkward thing. So the estate trustee may have to pass on that and say, look, I can't do it. But with us, it makes it easy for them to be able to have the control they need in their fiduciary role as the estate trustee, and know that all of the other stuff can get done in a safe and transparent way.
Yes. Well, it sounds like a very creative and well thought out platform that you've developed, Barry.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to do business in this sphere as well, because you get to work for wonderful people, right? So we work in the space of downsizing and estate settlement. Today's conversations are around estate settlement. Where they overlap is a lot of times we're dealing with an 85-year-old who's doing some planning for their estate planning, but maybe in that same time horizon, they decide that downsizing is a good fit with them. So then they need, some help getting that done as well. So for downsizers, we support their search for an apartment or a retirement community, because that's where most downsizers are going, is to some rented accommodation.
Yeah.
And then we manage their move. We get a floor plan from the suite that they choose. We talk to them about the things they want to take with them. We get it all measured out on the floor plan, get agreement about what's going to go, and then book the trucks, resources, and staff. We get them packed up, get them moved, we get them unpacked, bed made, pictures hung, clothes in the closet, boxes gone, and then back at the house. So they're ready to enjoy their new life, right? And then back at the house, ship things to relatives, sort the waste, organize a sale of the contents, and then prepare the property for sale, list and sell the house, and same thing, pull all the costs out of closing, right? So often those people are overlapping, but there are estate planning calls and downsizing calls.
Well, that's a very detailed service that you provide, Barry. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that this audience should be aware of regarding these sorts of things that you've seen over your career?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's estate trustee liability, of course. Fiduciaries need to be sure that they're not exposing themselves to undue liability, and so our process helps make that really safe as well. So that's one. But it's just really having, what we want people to know is that they don't have to do it all themselves. So most people who are unaware of a service like ours, who find themselves as an estate trustee, will look to their envelope of physical assets and they'll say, okay, so the house is $1 million. That's a big asset. Let me start down that road. So then the best practice for probate filing is to get an official certified appraisal of the property. The old way of doing it, that many older, folks in the lawyer business still suggest to people, is, listen, just get 2 or 3 real estate agent opinions of value, and we'll just put down a number. And then something similar with the contents sometimes took place as well. Now, a few years ago, the Ontario government changed the rules where they, it needs a little more robustness. And so appraisals are clearly best practice. And if a person goes about it in the old fashioned way, they get some opinions of value. Not only is that not as robust as an appraisal, but it also gets them connected on a path often where they'll meet a nice personality in the traditional real estate business. And then they'll start asking the real estate person, like, where should I turn for a contents appraisal? Where should I turn for a clear out service? What should I turn for a repair service? And no matter how helpful the agent may be, and they may be very helpful, it's going to end up by still being a laundry list that requires the estate trustee to be the project manager. So that the silent killer in all of this world is the recognition of the role of project manager, because that's in fact what an estate trustee is, and if you're downsizing as well. So you need somebody to sell your property. You probably know that you need a way to sell or deal with those contents. You know that you need some components like appraisals. But what people don't talk about as much is, where are all the gaps? Like, how does it all get done? I live 3 hours away. My parents lived in this place for 40 years. It's really full of stuff. Like, where do I start? And how do I start? And how do I do that while I'm keeping up with either my job or my health issues or both, and make sure that I do a good job of this, right? And it's a nightmare, right? It's overwhelming. And, our clients tell us on a regular basis, that if we hadn't found you, I don't know how we'd have got through it. And back to what I was going to say, it's a good job from a job satisfaction standpoint, because we work for awesome people who need the thing that we do, who are really appreciative of the thing we do. And it puts our staff in a place where we're always doing nice things for nice people and getting good feedback and appreciation from it.
Yes. Well, that's an excellent point, Barry, about the general contractor and the risk that executors, estate trustees take on when they're in this role. And that's something that I have stressed in this book that I have published, to get people thinking ahead about these sorts of things. And that certainly seems to be the key in all of this, is being proactive to the greatest degree possible.
Yeah, an analogy that we sometimes use to just explain that, what you're saying there about project manager, and your book does a good job of creating awareness around these issues and make sure you get them figured out, is an analogy we sometimes use is, you need a whole bunch of different people. If you're a 35-year-old and you're selling a house and you're buying a house, a traditional real estate agent's probably a good fit for that, because that's the thing you need. You just need that thing. You're going to get the rest of the stuff figured out. You got some buddies that are going to help you move. You got, you're going to sell a couple extra things on Facebook Marketplace. You got, you're going to call a got junk to get some stuff. You're on top of it all, and you're living in the midst of it, and you need to do those things. Mm-hmm. But if you're dealing with an estate, it's more like building a house. So you need a real estate sale process. You need an appraisal process. You need some disposal process. You need some security around the asset. You need a wide variety of different things. So you think about building a house. If you have a general contractor, the general contractor hires the plumber and the carpenter and the foundation guy and the landscaping guy and the electric and the drywaller and the painter, and they agree on a plan and a schedule, and then they pull it all together. One component of those is the real estate sale, but you wouldn't hire a carpenter or an electrician or a drywaller to coordinate everything else in your house. I mean, you need them all. So you're your own project manager if you don't have a contractor. So what our business model does is say, listen, if you want a general contractor, you can have us. And the way we price our services is the general contractor role is free. So if you're building a house, you're going to pay the general contractor maybe a 15% lift over all of the costs, third-party costs of all the different elements. In our world, there's no lift around those things typically. So you get free project management, which is in fact the hardest part of the puzzle. And it's funded by normal activities that you're going to pay somebody to do anyway, like a real estate sale or content sale or, et cetera. So anyway, it's the economics are good. The people we get to work for are amazing. And it allows them to avoid chaos if they want to avoid chaos. The interesting thing, of course, as you know, is there's all kinds of different people out there. And some folks want to be the hands-on person. It's the only way they could do it. And they want to manage every decision themselves. And that's fine too. For us, we just want the world to know that you don't have to if you don't want to. And for the folks that would prefer to have somebody do it professionally at no extra cost to them, we're an awesome option.
Yes. Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. What about your geographical limits in regards to your services?
Yeah, so the core service that we deliver is what we call it is populated Ontario. So we have clients from Ottawa to London, from Niagara Falls to Orillia and Barrie, and then we have done some files in Sudbury and Thunder Bay as well. But basically, populated Ontario has kind of been, where we've been operating in. When I say populated Ontario, like Kapuskasing and Nipigon and some of these places, like where it's really the population is very, very low and the distances are long. It's a little harder to get these things coordinated, but yes, for the majority of Ontarians, we're a good fit for that.
Well, it certainly sounds like a very needed service that you provide, Barry. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience here today?
Well, I mean, we're easy to get a hold of and it's easy to get a free consultation, to book some time, in a video meeting or something to diagnose what your issue is and just get a feel for whether or not our solutions are going to be a fit for what you're up to. And if they're not, that's okay too. I mean, one of our early goals is awareness, so people know that this option exists. And we know that part and parcel of that is through our website, et cetera, to let people find out for themselves what they can. And for those that are just a little bit more curious, it's easy to book an online meeting with us and have a 15-minute conversation to just get a feel for whether we're up to is a good fit for what they're dealing with. And we're good with all of that. And of course, no charge around any of that, so people can explore things. And then if they want to engage us, we can talk more about that. I did write a book a couple of years ago called Avoiding Chaos. And it's Avoiding Chaos, 8 discussions you need to have for stress-free downsizing and estate settlement. And it really walks through 8 conversations that we think are good, healthy conversations for people to know, with lots of little case studies and things that just help create awareness for people of the kinds of things they may want to be thinking about as they contemplate downsizing and estate settlement.
Yes. And where can people find that book, Barry? So
that's available on Audible or Amazon. And you can buy a copy of it. It's all paperback, so it's inexpensive, and or Audible, so you're getting the download version. And right. Like you, I read the book myself for the Audible version. So you get it in my tone, so you can tell.
Right. What I'm saying. And what is the website that you have, please?
So our website is gogordons.com, GOGORDONS.com. The company is called Gordon's Downsizing and Estate Services Limited Brokerage. We are a over 60-year-old company, and we've been licensed in the real estate business for about 45 years. And we've sold several thousand properties. The unique thing with us is that we're kind of virtually 100% listing to sale ratio, which means that we always get you to the finish line. And and we've sold several thousand properties throughout Ontario.
Good, good. Well, I think today's discussions should certainly give viewers and listeners a much better idea about the service you provide. So I greatly appreciate your time today, Barry.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Greg. It's been a pleasure to be here, and certainly we're easy to call, and you can call us as well at 800-267-2206. Thanks, Greg.